On the 16th of March, the Belgian Pro League confirmed that 25 of the country's biggest football clubs had voted unanimously in favour of exploring the possibility of establishing the BeNeLiga, which would see the best sides from Belgium and the Netherlands come together to form a new cross-border league. While Dutch sides are yet to hold such a vote, there have been discussions since 2019 between 6 clubs from the Eredivisie and 5 from the Pro League over the possible merger, and if it becomes a reality, it will hold big ramifications for football in the region and beyond. It would likely see the dissolvement of both the Eredivisie, which has run since 1956, and the Pro League, which was established in 1895, bringing an end to over a century of footballing tradition in both countries, a situation many fans don't want to see happen. But it also promises a higher quality, more competitive league, in doing so bringing more money through television revenue, and with the hope that clubs like Ajax, PSV and Club Brugge will challenge more consistently in Europe, having seen their standing in continental competition decline in the decades since the establishment of the Champions League. It's also seen as a reaction to the looming spectre of a European Super League and the drastic changes to the Champions League which come into effect from 2024. But how would the BeNeLiga work? Is it really needed? And could this be the first of many cross-national leagues? Let's find out. So what would the BeNeLiga actually look like? It would comprise of 18 clubs, 10 from the Netherlands and 8 from Belgium. Ajax, PSV, AZ Alkmaar, Utrecht, Feyenoord and Vitesse Arnhem, having been the major players in talks over the merger until now, would almost certainly all take a place, while Anderlecht, Club Brugge, Ghent, Genk and Standard Liège would merge from the Belgian side, meaning just 7 clubs which weren't part of the final negotiations would make the cut, determined by results over the previous 5 seasons. How promotion and relegation would work is yet to be finalised, but it's expected that teams would drop out of the BeNeLiga and into their national leagues, which would still run as effective second divisions to the more lucrative cross-border competition. Meanwhile, BeNeLiga teams would still contest national cup competitions as usual. How many European places the BeNeLiga would be granted is less clear. The Eredivisie and Pro League currently possess 5 spots each, including 4 in total for the Champions League, but this number would likely come down following a merger. And as for when it would start, we have a much better idea. Both the Dutch and Belgian leagues see their current TV deals expire at the end of 2024, and so it would likely launch in 2025 if all goes to plan. But why are the top clubs calling for this merger, and why now? Belgian Pro League CEO Pierre-Francois has stated that the primary aim is to form what he calls the 6th league in Europe, one which can generate the kind of revenue that will bring Dutch and Belgian clubs closer to their counterparts in the Big Five and provide the kind of competitiveness needed to prime these clubs for European competition. And there is certainly something in this. Clubs from England, France, Spain, Italy and Germany are more dominant in the Champions League than they've ever been, with just 2 sides from outside Europe's top 5 leagues, Ajax and Porto, qualifying from the group stage in the last 3 seasons. Coincidentally, they are also the only 2 such clubs to have won the competition since it became the Champions League in 1992, and to add further context, in the final 8 years of the European Cup era, half the teams that won it came from outside what is now the top 5 leagues. To close the gap on Europe's elite, Dutch and Belgian clubs need to be bringing in a lot more money, with both the Eredivisie and Pro League making around €80 million each in TV revenue per season. By comparison, Norwich alone made the equivalent of €98 million from Premier League television revenue in 2019-20, despite finishing bottom. A study by Deloitte last year found the BeNeLiga could earn as much as €400 million a year, more than double what the 2 leagues currently earn combined. This would certainly make the likes of Bruges and Ajax more competitive, especially with their neighbours across the border in France, and in the wake of the global pandemic, a move like this is seen as even more essential. In the year before COVID, Belgian Pro League sides registered a combined record loss of €87 million, and by November 2020, these sides had lost an extra €275 million in matchday revenue as a result of the crisis. In February, Anderlecht head coach Vincent Kompany said, "It's a matter of survival. The major European clubs have plans to isolate themselves and establish their own leagues, and the financial strength of these clubs may double or triple, while we are left with very little resources to make progress. We have to open the borders and become stronger together. We can keep the best players here longer if we can offer them a better competition." While the announcement of the new Champions League format has put talk of a European Super League to bed for now, the revamp will still serve to benefit the established elite, with places being given for coefficients as well as league placing. This will likely see the wealth gap between the superpowers of England and Spain and the likes of Ajax and Anderlecht grow even wider in years to come, so getting ahead of the curve and securing heightened revenue now is clearly seen as essential for these historic sides. And as for the smaller clubs who would miss out on the BeNeLiga, it's understood that the increased television revenue would also filter down to them in some way, with a recent Pro League statement saying that the merger is based both on the respect of the big club's sporting ambitions and on the need for economic stability for the other professional clubs. How this would work in practice remains to be seen, but lesser clubs may have no choice but to sign up given the financial difficulties they currently face. But this isn't the first time the concept of a BeNeLiga has been discussed. Back in 2009, then UEFA President Michel Platini made the suggestion, saying it is something we should try to make European football as strong as possible, and 3 years earlier Marco van Basten, then manager of the Netherlands, had also backed the idea. And this kind of talk hasn't been exclusive to the Eredivisie and Pro League. In the early 2000s, the concept of an Atlantic League featuring clubs from Scotland, Portugal and Scandinavia, as well as the Netherlands and Belgium, was discussed, and around the same time Rangers and Celtic both explored the possibility of joining the English Premier League. As recently as 2016, top clubs from these countries, minus Portugal this time, were debating the idea once again, and in 2020 another iteration was discussed, this time involving Irish clubs, with investment bank JP Morgan looking to back the plan, and television rights estimated at £350 million. So if the BeNeLiga is successfully launched, it will no doubt see top clubs from Europe's smaller leagues once again explore new possibilities in order not to be left behind. Pierre-Francois even suggested in a recent interview that other regions, like Scandinavia, could successfully merge even before Belgium and the Netherlands are able to do so. Elsewhere in the football world, a link-up between the USA's MLS and Mexico's Liga MX has been mooted, with the two leagues having already launched 2 cross-border cup competitions. In March, FIFA President Gianni Infantino expressed particular enthusiasm for the idea, claiming a US-Mexico merger could be the best league in the world. Infantino seems to have become infatuated with this concept, spearheading plans for an African Super League which are very much underway. Backed by some of the continent's biggest clubs and seen as a way of bringing much needed investment into the African game, the competition could make over $200 million according to FIFA's head honcho. If successful, it would see African clubs begin to catch up with their European and South American counterparts, and allow them to hold on to their most talented players for longer. However, critics of the idea point to the vast disparity in wealth and success that exists between North African countries and the rest of the continent, and a Super League would potentially exacerbate these inequalities, taking fans and revenue away from national competitions. What's more, a league of 20 to 24 of the continent's elite teams, as is currently being talked about, is hardly representative of Africa's 54 nations, while travel costs and bureaucracy could also be a problem for clubs and fans alike. And herein lies the problem with the BeNeLiga too. It may harbour a lot of financial benefits, especially for the biggest sides, but it remains unpopular with fans who go to games. And if Dutch and Belgian supporters aren't keen for the extra travel, despite the longest away trip being likely to take less than 5 hours, the near 10,000-kilometre trek between Cairo and Cape Town is hardly going to attract the masses. What's more, mergers like this will destroy years of tradition, seeing local derbies, like that between Club Brugge and Cercle Brugge, fade into history and replaced by cross-border rivalries, something which may eventually catch on but for now is certainly not a priority for die-hard supporters of even the biggest clubs. And while more money would see these countries pour more investment into developing talent, it will also make it harder for smaller sides to generate revenue and stay afloat in the long run, as vital TV revenue is taken away from clubs stuck in less commercially enticing national league systems. But while this concept of regional and cross-border leagues is generally unpopular with fans, it's not going away anytime soon. Whereas in the past UEFA had generally been hostile to such moves, Europe's governing body now seems a lot more open to them, with President Alexander Ceferin stating that while entry into continental competition from these leagues presents a problem that UEFA would have to solve, they are otherwise unopposed to them. As the global game looks to recover from the worst financial crisis in its modern history, opportunities to drive extra revenue and investment will always be considered. However, it won't be a decision that's made lightly. Changing the landscape of national and continental football may be necessary for certain clubs to grow, but the collateral damage could be devastating and irreversible. So that was our take on the concept of cross-border and regional leagues, but what do you make of them? Are they a good idea or not? Let us know your opinion in the comments below and we'll do our best to reply. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave it a like, and why not click on screen right now for our explainer on the new Champions League format. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.